I had to make a few changes, but let's look at a different way to put our JSON out there. So as we learned here, um, we gets a little complicated with the amount of stuff going on here with the echoes, and in the end, what happens that makes it really bad is that on the very last entry, there's this extra comma. And the reason the extra comma is bad is because JSON, why it stands for JavaScript Object Notation. JavaScript is such, or JSON is such that it needs to be valid. It needs to be in the same structure every time so that something that uses it can knows exactly what to be looking for. If there's anything that's out of whack, such as a comma, then it's going to completely fail. So while in theory what we did worked, it's actually not going to produce valid JSON. So let's take a look at a way that PHP gives us to make JSON almost instantly, as well as with very little code. All right, so I'm going to go, I kind of put a little cheat sheet code in here for me so I could copy and paste it. In the API, we're going to do this. I'll copy this, and I'll paste it here. And I'll close the PHP again. Okay, in this case, what we're doing is we're doing our while, so that doesn't change. Same exact thing, but instead we're going to create an array called data, and each row goes into this array, gets set to this array, and then at the end what it's going to do is it's going to JSON encode everything under this term called requests. So let's take a look at how this is going to work. Let's save that. Some things we've lost, like the agency stuff, so we're going to address that in just a second. But if I hit refresh, and I go to, I somehow just close the browser. What was it? It was local host week 8. View page source. So this happened to me earlier when I was working on this. It seems to keep getting something in our browser keeps getting like jammed up. And in just a second it's going to run. It's going to run really fast. There we go. Would like to terminate that application. Still looking at that full catalog. Get an API. Right click, view page source. That is so weird. Probably because there's just, am I out of hard drive space? Nope. Doing okay. There's nothing we're doing that is complicated. Let's use the different web browser. Just as an example, because this is, we all got things to do. Localhost week08 API. Everything's there. View page source. I have never seen anything take long to run the page source. Oh, I know why it is. Because there's 65,000 records. So maybe we should start doing our filter first of zip codes, and then we can run it again and not have it crash on us. It's just too much data for what we're trying to do. Yep, look at that. Okay, well, in our instructions, we want to use get, and we want to call it with the zip code. And they don't need to be authenticated. So how can we do that? If you remember correctly, it's very easy. You set zip is equal to get, I think it's to zip. Let me change our thing here to query equals this. We put where zip code. Note this is different than this, but what people are going to give us, but we're activating, or we're searching by what is actually in here. Come on, Greg, find me the word zip code. I just had it. At council district address zip code. Okay, so it's the two. So we need to use exactly what's that. Where zip code equals single quote. Then we can throw in our zip single quote, and we'll save. We need to make sure we put our semicolon at the end. And now when we go and run this, oh boy, let's see what that error is. Oh, look, there's no query in there. Oh my goodness, Greg. That was kind of major. There we go. Now let's view our page source. Now let's view our page source. There you go. And now we have really beautiful looking JSON. You see these slashes. This is it's the encoding, or the URL encoding. We've done that before when we've done our safety and injection protection. Like, it's all set up for us for that. So it's giving us really good data back. The way that we can find out what we're doing that is so nice is we're going to go to I wrote a page. I should say I had help writing a page. Thanks, internet. And it was called, well, I'll show it to you here. It's called Client API, and it's just JavaScript. There's no PHP in it at all. And what it's saying is it creates an HTML page, so there's no PHP code. It's just JavaScript. And then it has a style, and then here there's in the script tag, and you don't have to know any of this because I understand this is well beyond the class. You need to, what you do is you create this function called fetch, and fetch is going to call the page with a zip code, and then it's going to take and it's going to take that data and pull it back, and then it's going to create with a for each, which should look pretty familiar. We've done these before. For each request, so call each thing a request, take one of the elements from here and put it into a table. And so I just lined it up with the same table items, right? Or the same items in our database: SR record ID, SR type, created date, agency, address, zip code. And then it just pops it on at the end and it checks for errors. So if I hit save and I go now to here, I go to week 8, go to client API. What you see now is this is our description, okay? This is, in this case, 21201, and it's the calls. And it's formatted nicely and everything's there. And of course, we see that we're missing an agency, so we have to address that. But what's so cool about this is we are using, I'm gonna close this out. We're using one data point, which is the API page, to populate everything in this page. Imagine for a minute if I had another page duplicate, copy, paste, rename, and instead of it being, I don't know, Arial, we'll call it times, and we'll call it serif. And we'll make the font size be a little bit easier for someone to read. We'll go with larger. Save. Now if I go to my page and I make this so the font is slightly bigger and it's a different font, but the data source is the same way. So I can have different formatted pages, different looking pages. Maybe I have, some different sub-brands or something, or maybe I have, a mobile friendly version versus a desktop friendly version. I can show people each page with the same data, even if just the page design has changed, or the page sort of like the HTML features have changed, without me having to code any of that in PHP. So I can separate out my programming from my display, right? Even though there's some JavaScript in here, honestly, it's not really a lot, and ChatGPT can make something like this for you really quick. Even though there's this, a designer can do a lot with it to make it much better. And a programmer can handle just this part, which is creating the APIs. So many things that you use are currently running like this. When you load up, I don't even know, let's say you load up Facebook. Facebook page, the page that you're looking at isn't loading all of these calls. It's using JavaScript to call out to a data set, bringing it back, and then reconstructing it the way it should through some type of API page, or filler. Yeah. So I think it's actually pretty exciting what we've gotten to here, to show this off. Let's fix real quick this agency part. And so what I was thinking about was doing an if here. That was like if row, and we call it agency, and it should be in quotes. If row agency equals blank. I was wondering if we can just do control copy. None assigned. Save it. And then that way when this row agency equals this, it would come up here. This might actually be read only, but let's find out. Let's find out. It worked perfectly. So we were able to, and again, if we wanted to do, so I changed that in one place, and now if I go to this one, it works too. So again, APIs are very powerful. And the next one, let's take a look at how we can authenticate users.